So in 7th grade, I learned about Africa and just fell in love with the continent. And I didn't really know anything about Benin, but coming into JMU as a high school student, I heard about this water trip and am so passionate about water. And then coming to Africa, I felt like it was a great combination.
I mean, there's so many bright colors and so many smells that sort of are traveling through the air at any time. But what sort of got me the most was just the different things you can hear. Every morning you wake up and you hear birds and crickets flying around outside. There's a mosque across the street, which I've never been around before, but there's a call to prayer 5 times a day, which you can hear clearly through the Songhai Center. Right now, where we're filming, there's birds and bugs and crickets, and it's just sort of, it surrounds you with all these nature sounds that you're not used to before. The first time it rained, I think it was last night, the rain came down in this torrential sheet of downpour where you could hear it on the roofs and the sidewalks and on your windows. And it was sort of like a soft humming going to bed too.
We hear a lot of what sustainability is in textbooks and what we see it in our realm, but actually seeing it flourish in an actual environment where all you have is the stuff that's here, the necessities that are here, and seeing sustainability grow from itself is the real reason why you should come to this study abroad program.
When we entered the village, well, first we drove down a path. It was more of a sidewalk that I didn't really think a vehicle could get down, and everybody seemed really hesitant at first, but they seemed like they knew he was coming, so less like they were afraid of us and more like they were nervous about what was going to happen that day. But very shortly after, the children just ran up to all of us and were holding our hands, like not even a hello, just walking up to us blindly and holding our hands. The younger children first, but then the older children, even the boys, were holding the boys' hands, the guys on our trip, and so it was just amazing.
And I've really enjoyed doing the class in a different way than we would have done it in the classroom setting. Like coming here, we've had more of a hands-on experience taking the sustainability class and technical elective, and I feel like we definitely wouldn't have had that doing it at James Madison in Harrisonburg. So I think that's been really cool.
For me, I would say I really enjoyed learning about a completely new culture that's unfamiliar to me, and kind of really getting a better grasp of what sustainability really means, and that it's not just one-dimensional, and how everything has an effect. And I think that gaining a better understanding, it's helped me think differently through this trip, and I think it will help me in the future become a better engineer.
And by actually coming here and instead of saying, well, here's a bunch of money, you like Water for Africa is doing, so you're buying the machines so that they can make the money themselves. When you give somebody their own pride in what they've done, they're less likely to destroy it, or they care more about it. And if it is ruined, then they would A, know how to fix it, and B, they would know that this is my thing. This isn't just somebody gave me. This is actually I take pride in. I did the hard work. We did the community work to really gain this respect, and that's one thing that I want to take from it.
niveau hauteur moteur de voiture pression. Les y a gagné ça. À mon moment on est sur les bonnes voies de voiture pression non. Bueno, la cama. Esto no, porque hemos una agua. can't do that. You have to. You can't have a barbecue.
We can make them one if they want. Good place for a stand filter.
All right, well, when I first sat down, I wanted them to know my name because I knew their names. They were able to tell me their names, but they couldn't say my name, so I wrote it on my hand. But then they wanted me to write their names on their hands, so I did. They would tell me their names and I would write it, and suddenly there was just 20 hands just in my lap, and just Nom, and I'd write it, and so I already had their name until my marker ran out. And then an older girl, I assumed she was 13 or 14, she wanted to look at my notebook, which is where I journal. And I was reading my journal to her, and she was trying to say the words. But then I was trying to tell her what some of the words meant, because I knew some of the French words, and then I had the idea to draw pictures. So it got to fish and bottle and apple, and then they would ask me words. They would ask they handed me lemongrass, and I said it was lemongrass, and they asked what a pineapple was, and a palm tree, and then like boy and girl, and I would draw the pictures and write in all caps, and soon it wasn't just the children. The mothers were coming over and asking, what things were. They wanted to know hair, and they wanted to know clothes, shoes, shirt, skirt.
Hello, Celine.
Obviously, Zungbome hit a lot of heartstrings for a lot of us. Kids are just a very sensitive thing in general, I would say. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily get emotional over helping a bunch of adults with something, but when there are kids involved, it seems like a lot more important, and you want them to grow up understanding. Or we were talking about one time how a young boy might see the pump and the water and be intrigued and be like, what is this? I want to learn more. I want to be involved in the sciences. And that could start him down a whole path that he never would have gotten down. And so I think for me, that's just really cool to see the importance of investing in kids everywhere.
I personally got to work with the ceramic filter lab, working with them on seeing what they do with the ceramics, how they create the clay that they're using for the ceramics. Got a bunch of numbers and calculations figure out exactly what they're using to make the clay or make the ceramic filters. Got to actually test some of the water that they're actually drinking out of the ceramic filters, which is really cool.
Very good. So we'll swirl it around and make sure it gets all over the walls.
If I love what I'm doing here, or what I see something that I love, then this is really the future that I want to pursue. And if it's something that's kind of I like this aspect, but it's not, being their aspect, then I can find something in America or find something in another country that I'd feel welcome to. So by being here, it's really going to help me decide basically what my future is for at least the next 5 years, and what I want to do. And if I feel comfortable here, could I do something like a Peace Corps service compared to, going just out into the workforce?
Just the awareness that I have now of different cultures, because this is kind of my first experience outside the United States, And it was almost shocking to come here and learn about everything, because you always read about it and you hear about it on the news and all that fun stuff, but then to come and experience it firsthand, it really like hits home, and you understand like, hey, we use a lot more than we need to, and we should do something about it rather than just sit back and watch it happen.
I think it's really important to show all the cultural things we've done. Talk to people about not only the relationships we've made and how awesome the Songhai Center is, but I think also talk about the slave route that we saw and how there's culture and there's history here and the animals and just all the cool things that Africa has to offer, because I think a lot of people have this vision of Americans like helping other countries, but I think I've learned more from this trip and from the culture, and I think it's really important that people back home know that.
Yeah, going off of that a little bit, like I like the aspect of showing them the culture that we've learned here, especially from the drum market, the meaning behind those things, and I think their compassion towards us, like they personalized those drums for us, and like Emil showed us his father's like home, and that was really cool that they like care and trust us with those kinds of things. And I think like to do that justice, we have to like explain that to other people back home.
I guess the one thing I would want people back home to know is sort of a takeaway lesson I've got from being in Africa and in Benin itself. When you go walking out in the streets, there are people living in mud huts without electricity and without running water and without the latest technology and video games, and they're happy. So I think that's one thing that it would be really great for people back home to sort of realize, that they don't need everything that we feel like we do. Everything that we have back home is definitely all wants rather than necessities, because here they're living without them and they're completely happy.
Is there anything from this culture that you think you really like about it, or something that you see should be kind of, you might like change in your own like culture or something like that in America?
I just like how simply they all live, and they don't complain about it. Like, they live in small houses, and a lot of people seem to walk around everywhere, and they live really simple lives, but they don't complain about it. In America, we're all about like me. It's like material goods. You always want like the newest thing that's out, and they're not like that here at all. Like, even if they have hardly anything, they're happy with their lives. And I think that's something we can really learn from them and take back to the U.S. with us.
Well, going to Panjari was really cool. We got to actually safari. A lot of quality time with the whole group. Really long bus rides. But I think the coolest thing was just everyone's reactions as we were seeing different animals. Specifically, one of the girls was dying to see an elephant.
I was just gonna say that.
And as soon as she saw it, she flipped out. She could not stop smiling and yelling,
There's a baby behind the big mom.
being very ecstatic. So I think honestly, all the fun things that we've had, that's probably what's going to stand out the most to me of the fun things that we've done.
There's one to the left too, and there's a bunch of
My favorite part was we had gone on a bit of safari, and we were driving back to where our tents were, and all of a sudden Sheridan right next to me was like, elephants, and like ran over to the window. They were like a football field away from us, but you could sort of see their outline, and it was the first time we'd seen elephants, and it was like really exciting.
My like life dream was to go to Africa and see an elephant, and it finally happened, so that was really awesome. And then once again, expectations exceeded by seeing a lion and a cheetah and all the baboons and stuff, so that was definitely the most fun part for me.
Yeah, I think it was a long process to get to the safari,
Yes.
and then to get back home, but I think it was totally worth it. And being able to see elephants, like, it still didn't even seem real.
Yeah.
Like the elephants and the lion and the cheetahs, like, this is them in their natural habitat, and we're just visitors.
I guess kind of cliche, don't judge a book by its cover in a sense. Like going into things, you just have to keep an open mind. And coming to Africa, I had all of these like preconceived notions of what to expect, and my expectations were totally blown and were exceeded. And I would just say, don't like judge like, oh, this is how this culture is, and like really you don't know anything about it until you really experience it.
Going off of that, I would say definitely take the time if you're gonna go on a trip like this to learn the culture.
The camping, even though the bugs were awful, I thought it was really cool, and it was a lot different than I was expecting, because I was expecting like, oh, we're gonna pitch our own tents, sleep on the floor kind of camping, but it wasn't. And I was really surprised by that, and I thought it was really cool.
Although I can't single out one event, you know, the national park or helping people in Sabome or, you know, talking to the individual. It's just the kind of experience, and that's what I came for. I came in going, I wanted to come out of this as a better person, and I really think that really made my trip. It really changed my ideas about almost everything in my daily life back in the States, and that's what I think, you know, I just talk about it now, I get goosebumps. That's what really made me that's what really made my experience, and I had a lot of fun just being here and really immersing myself into this kind of community and this society.
Come, definitely come.
Africa's awesome.
I love Africa. And Benin.
Yep.
Shine, shine, Bobo.
That's a good end.
I just had to say it.
I forgot.
Catherine, where's the play club at? Oh, I think it's down the basement. Let's go. sorry, I really thought the flight line was down there.